Hello, hello, awesome humans. So I am celebrating an anniversary of sorts, and that's the reason I wanted to record this episode today. And my anniversary is of my burnout. I'm recording this on June 17th, so you're hearing it a few weeks into the future. But 10 years ago, almost to the day, was when I really was at one of the lowest points in my life. And it was the day that I had shut down, laid off my team at this company called Happier that I had been building with this amazing team. Some of you may know the Happier gratitude app that we had built that was helping hundreds of thousands of people practice gratitude and live happier lives. It was a day I went to our investors and told them that I was in such a bad place that I could no longer continue and I needed to take a break. It's my daughter's birthday on June 15th. We just celebrated this weekend. She's 21. I cannot imagine it. And I remember her birthday that year. So it was just a few days before. And I remember writing in my journal that it is the first birthday that I can remember that I cannot find a place in myself to feel true joy. Of course, we did all the things, but I could not. I was in such an awful low place that I could not even muster. My being was so burnt out that I could not muster the feeling of joy for my daughter's birthday. And I did something. Now, just to tell you, and I've written about this in my books, looking back, I had been burning out for years before hitting this really low point. I just wasn't willing to be honest with myself. I chalked it up to, oh, it's really stressful to run a startup, or, it's really stressful to be a working mom and have an intense job, or whatever it was. I was unwilling to really listen within myself. And I would just always dismiss these feelings of increasingly feeling not just exhausted every day, which is one of the signs of burnout, but there are others. I just increasingly wanted to disengage from everything and try to avoid interactions with people. I remember my team at work, kind of in meetings. I speak for a living, you guys. I talk a lot. And I remember my team at work saying at the end of meetings, hey, do you have anything to say? I was so burnt out. I just tried to avoid any interaction. And by the end of it, close to the bottom of it, I started to black out quite a bit. But in the years before, there were so many times where I would just dread the day. I didn't feel any enthusiasm for my life. I felt like I couldn't handle what was on my plate. I'm mentioning these to share my experience with you, but also these are some really common symptoms of burnout. And so if you, as you're listening to this and it's resonating with you, or you're in a similar place, the most important thing I want to tell you in this, I wish I didn't have to hit the low point that I did. I wish I'd listened to myself earlier. We are so good at dismissing ourselves. We're so good at just, I got to just toughen up and keep going. It's weak to think I'm burnt out. It's weak to, I remember thinking this, I remember feeling the way that I had, I just was in this absolute dark place internally. And I felt ashamed. I felt ashamed that I could not hack my way through it. I felt ashamed. I thought I had failed my family, my parents who had immigrated here, myself as a refugee, my American dream. And I remember I got a new journal this week, 10 years ago, and I couldn't work. As I said, I temporarily shut down my company. I could hardly function. And I remember I got a journal, and I think it was around June 16th or 17th. I can't remember exactly, and it's not near me right now. And I wrote, okay, this is day one. And I didn't know what this day one was about. I just knew for the first time in my life, I knew I had to live differently. I had to change something that wasn't just on the surface. Yes, I needed to get more sleep. Yes, I needed to take more breaks, but it was something so much deeper than that. And so that's what I want to talk to you about. That deeper thing, that reason that it took me a while to understand this. And I want to be honest with you. I wrote my first book, Happier Now. It came out in 2018. And I talk about my burnout there. But I will tell you, when I was writing that book, I had not yet understood all of the deep reasons for why I burnt out. I do talk about that more in the Awesome Human Project, my second book. But so it's taken me years to really understand it. But here it is. I just want to share it with you. The reason that I burnt out was not because I was working too much. Yes, I was doing that as well, but it wasn't the reason. The reason that I burnt out is because I was living my life completely disconnected from my source of aliveness. What do I mean by that? I never took time to get to know myself. I never took time to ask myself things like, what feels good? Like that question, if you asked me this like 15 years ago, I would laugh you out of the room. What does that matter? What feels good? The only things that I valued is this an achievement? Is this an important achievement? Is this something hard? I chose my college major because I was told it was the hardest major on campus. I would prioritize for things that were most challenging. I never asking myself what feels good to me. That's ridiculous. What does that have to do with anything? Life was about accomplishing things. It was about doing hard things. It was about building a great career, providing for my family. But for the first time in my life, I started to ask myself this question. And that is what I mean about being disconnected from my aliveness. Your source of aliveness are things that you do that make you feel really good. It's really that simple. And if you're kind of listening right now and you're feeling irritated by this question, or you're like, you want to just shut this podcast down because it's uncomfortable for you to think about it because you have not asked yourself this question, I get you. Okay. Feel free to, stop listening for a while and I hope you'll come back. But that is the reason that I burnt out. I was completely disconnected from myself, from what truly felt good to me. I had never asked myself things like, what do I want to do? What do I feel called to do? I was disconnected from, in many ways, what I call in my mentorship work, your zone of greatness. Your zone of greatness is the intersection of what you love to do, what feels really good to do, what you're naturally great at, and where you have the deepest impact. And as much as I am still so proud of everything that I had done, including building Happier, which ended up, the company is still there. We just don't have the app, but the app helped hundreds of thousands of people improve their lives. As much as I am so proud of that, my zone of greatness is not being a tech company CEO. I was a decent CEO, but I was not great. My zone of greatness is, and this has taken me years and years and years of self-discovery and really being honest with myself to say that actually my zone of greatness is to use my experience and my creativity to help people break through what holds them back and unleash their greatest potential for aliveness and impact through mentorship, through coaching, through speaking, through writing. And when we are disconnected from that zone of greatness, when we are disconnected from what makes us feel alive, when we're disconnected from what makes us feel good, that is when we risk burning out. And that is what happened to me. And I will tell you, I have worked with so many incredible, awesome humans in the last 10 years and have had the privilege to mentor incredible leaders and entrepreneurs individually and in groups. I've had a chance to be on stages with tens of thousands of incredible people and to talk about this. And when I had a chance to get to know people and really work closely with them, again, initially, some of them would say, I'm totally burnt out. I've never taken a break. I'm working too much. I don't sleep enough. Yes, those are really important. And if you are in this place of feeling really burnt out, you do have to get the basics first. Getting enough sleep, spending time outside, nourishing foods. Those are the basics. But that in itself is not going to help you not feel burnt out because we have to go to that source of it. And this with everyone that I have mentored and coached who came to me and we started working together when they felt that burnout, when we got to the real core of it, it was much deeper than just overworking. It was about them being disconnected from the source of their aliveness, them being disconnected from their zone of greatness, from what they love to do and what comes easily to them and where they are really making an impact. And it does come down to this question, and it is such a simple question. And I will tell you, I don't remember exactly the first time I asked myself this question, but it was sometime in that first year as I was learning to live in a different way, as I was recovering from burnout, asking yourself this question, what feels good to me? And again, if you've never asked yourself this, or if it feels ridiculous or even irresponsible to ask this question, I am with you. I was there. I thought it was absolutely a frivolous question. And I cannot tell you how many people that I work with and mentor. And I will tell you, I'm noticing this more in women than men, but that's my observation. they feel it is irresponsible to do what makes them feel good unless it has some other outcome, some other thing, right? Well, if I do this, okay, then I'll be a better mom, or I'll be a better leader, a better entrepreneur. Guess what? The answer is yes. When you reconnect to your source of aliveness, when you're really in your zone of greatness, when you do more of what makes you feel good, you are a better leader. You are a better entrepreneur. You are a better parent. You are a better colleague. 100%. But that is not the reason to do what makes you feel good. And this is a breakthrough that I did not have for a really long time. And I'm not expecting to convince you, in one podcast episode, if this sounds ridiculous to you. You are a human being. You are born with inherent worth. You are here in this life experience to do things that light you up, that make you feel good, that help you feel that sense of purpose and like being in that place of aliveness. That is the whole purpose of life. And that is the reason to do it. But it also turns out, and this is so awesome, it turns out that when we connect to our source of aliveness, when we do more of what makes us feel good, when we step into our true zone of greatness and stop doing what we think we should, that is also when we are at our best as parents, as leaders, as entrepreneurs, as colleagues. And that is what I have discovered. And it took me a while. It took me a really long time. But that is what I've dedicated my work and my career to, is helping awesome humans like you reconnect to that source of aliveness, step into your zone of greatness. And that, to me, I call this podcast is called reinventability, right? I teach about reinvention, and, I speak about developing a reinventable mindset. But it's all about practicing using these tools to help you reconnect to your source of aliveness, to help you step into your true potential for aliveness, for joy, and for impact. And I'm really grateful, looking back 10 years on, my anniversary this week, of being in really like one of the lowest points in my life. And I'm so grateful that I had the courage to start asking myself these questions, to start asking myself very different questions than I used to ask myself. It was not easy, and it required mostly courage and just a willingness to think differently, the willingness ultimately to stop treating myself as an accomplishment machine, to stop connecting my entire worth to what I was accomplishing on the inside, and to start really treating myself with the love and care that I give to my daughter, that I give to my husband, that I give to people I love. And when we do that, think about someone you love. Don't you want them to do things that make them feel good? Don't you want them to do what lights them up? Don't you want them to be so connected to their source of aliveness? Of course, the answer is yes. And that is what we have to do for ourselves. And so that is my invitation to you, whether you are feeling burnt out, or you're just feeling kind of like you're going through your days on autopilot, or you're missing that spark of aliveness, like you just don't feel enthusiastic about your life, and you are willing to make a change. You are ready. You're feeling ready to evolve, to reinvent into a place where you are excited to wake up to your life and you are proud of the way that you're treating yourself and the way you're living. My invitation to you is to start asking yourself these questions. And it begins with this question of, what feels good to me? I mentioned my art quite a bit on this podcast because my current reinvention that I'm going through is to really embrace that dimension of myself, is to bring my art to self, my artist self, and my art career, and bring it together with my career as a mentor and a coach and a speaker. And so my art is all around me. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see it. And if you're not, there's a link in the show notes to see these episodes on YouTube. But, making art was something I'd always wanted to do my whole life, but I never let myself, because it didn't fit into this very narrow version of myself that I had of like, I gotta, build a great career, be a business executive, be a tech CEO, provide for my family. And art is something I began to do only after I burnt out, because when I asked myself the question of what feels good, well, painting would feel really good. And so I gave myself permission. And first I did it very quietly and slowly. And like we had this basement room in our house, and it was this dark little room, and I set up an easel there, and I would just do it a little bit because I felt so guilty doing it. It felt like indulging myself, right? I didn't tell many people that I was doing it. So it's taken me quite a long time, 10 years, to really step into myself and to say, making art, being an artist is part of the source of my aliveness. And I love to bring creativity and art into the work that I do with other people. Actually hosting my first in-person Art of Reinvention retreat this weekend with 6 incredible women who are flying in from all over the country. But it took me a really long time to get honest with myself and then to really embrace that making art is part of what makes me feel alive. It's not all of it. Speaking also does. Learning also does. Mentoring people and helping them break through their inner limits also does. But it took me time. But I will tell you that once I embraced it, once I started to make making art a regular part of my life, it led to this incredible explosion of energy and creativity and joy. It made me a better mom, a better leader, a better mentor. But it began with this question: what feels good? And so whether you are burnt out or just you need a spark, or you're on the threshold of your next chapter and you're not quite sure what that is, but you want it to be something that makes you feel really great, that you're excited about, I encourage you to start asking yourself these questions. What makes me feel good? What makes me feel alive? What lights me up? What do I love to do? What is something I could do for a really long time? And it kind of almost comes, maybe it's challenging. I will tell you, when I create a painting, it's hard. Like, it's not relaxing, but I could do that for hours. Like, it's just something that I love to do. And when you ask yourself these questions, you may not get clear answers right away, and that is okay. You may not have I did not have some eureka moment. It took time. So I want you to think of it like pulling a thread. You want to ask yourself these questions. You want to be really open to what comes up. You want to try to not judge yourself for what comes up. And this is where you have to be really courageous and not go back to like, this is what I should do. Because the I should is the prison that causes the burnout. The I should is the prison that we keep ourselves in that cuts off our source of aliveness. So you want to be asking, what feels good to me? And you want to have the courage to really be open to the answer, even if it's quite different from what you've been doing. And then you just want to be pulling on that thread. You just want to start pulling on the thread and keep listening, and then start doing some of those things. And the more you say yes to trying those things, to exploring those things that feel good, the more that you begin to uncover that source of aliveness, the more you feel more energy, more enthusiasm for life, more joy. And that's it. That's the magic. That's the magic. That's all I have for today. As always, thank you for being here. Thank you for making this part of your life. If what you heard resonated with you, I'd love for you to share it with someone you think it will resonate with. And please rate and review this podcast on your favorite platform. It really helps people to find it. It's how we grow this community around doing this beautiful inner work. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. And I will be, as I like to say, in your ear if you're listening, or on your screen if you're watching next week with another episode. Have an awesome rest of your week, awesome humans.